Oh. Today's video is something that I know that's been keeping you up at night, is whether or not you can go without the hose when using one of these mini boom boxes. In this case, I've got a reviewed SICK Plus AS Pro. What I want to show you is whether or not you need this hose when using TPU tubes. I'm going to use a whole bunch of tubes, and I'm going to feature from my last TPU video the Tubolito that I could not kill to see if I can melt it to death. Manufacturers recommend that you, of course, use Mr. Hose because of the heat generated by these mini boom boxes. It's so bad, especially if you've got Phil Gaiman-like hands, they recommend you use this, that silicone sleeve, eh? The problem is when the heat of this interacts with the stems on the TPU tubes. We take a close-up look at these valve stems. What they appear to be is rigid plastic which is molded around the Presticore. I don't think these are glued in. So what's at stake here? This unit weighs 122 grams. If, as per the recommendations, I carry this around, I add a massive 22 grams. But more importantly, it takes up more space in my saddle pack, and it's one more piece of crap to lose. Today's victims are going to be, first, something I don't recommend, which is a 24-gram RideNow tube. They're just simply too flimsy if you trust YouTube. I'm also going to test a regular 36. These both got the old plastic style extensions in them. Then I've got a 38 loaded in my test tire right now. And for those of you that are astute, of course, I'll show it to you on a 45 gravel tube, but this is a metal stem, likely a little bit better under heat. And I run that, as per my previous videos, with this clicky valve stuff. Then I'm going to test a Tubolito hack. If you see this one, I kind of cranked this out by accident and then did a crap job of repairing it to put in a click valve. So this is epoxied with the crack in it. This is not the way I recommend doing it. So we'll see if this will survive. This will likely be the weakest one. And finally, I'm not going to blow this one, but this is the same as the undefeatable Tubolito tube I showed you in the intro, and I'm going to test this to see if it survives. For testing, I'm going to use a 28 mil tire on a 21 mil wide rim with the TPU tube installed in it. And if you're wondering why I'm not using a 30 or 32, I've got this one mounted and I'm lazy. And I'm going to inflate it with this 3 times to see if it survives, up to 70 psi. You'll likely need less given my 99.92 kilogram girth. First up is the likely survivor, the replaceable valve core metal stemmed RideNow 38. I gotta tell you, on round 1, that is actually pretty hot to the touch. Oof. Oh yeah. That's actually pretty hot. We'll see how this is doing inside after the third run, second run complete. Round 3. Once again, super hot. Oh wow. That is super hot right there. I'm not even touching that sucker. If I inspect the replaceable core RideNow tubes, there doesn't really appear to be any damage or deformation on them. So I'd say this survived the test. Next, we're going to put this super flimsy 24 gram RideNow tube in here. I don't think this is going to go well. Round 2 complete. It is definitely hot. I would not recommend touching that for too long, but I gotta say, I'm not really too concerned. The metal stem was actually a lot hotter than this. Once again, she's a little soft, but everything's holding. Oh. Looks like there might be a little bit of deformation here, but for craps and giggles, I'm going to test this with the hose now. This is quite interesting, where this is still hot to the touch, but the actual boom box gets way hotter on your hands when you're running it with the hose. I think there's more air resistance, or it's working harder. The material on the valve stems on the 24 and the 36 in my hand are identical. Therefore, I'm not going to bother testing the 36, because if this one survived, then this one should survive. As I'm changing this tire, I'm going to take an interlude here to ask you to like, and if you really like my content, feel free to subscribe. As with every video I've done so far, I've bought everything with my own money, and I'm not influenced by the cycling industry. These are my opinions and my opinions alone. Got a little bit of a working theory about this hose we're going to test, but I'm going to use the most vulnerable Tubolito with the hack on it. I'm going to use it first with the hose to see if it survives. No issues. The question here is with the Tubolito click hack is whether with this 2-ton epoxy either that's going to melt or the Tubolito valve stem. We have an epic failure. Now I wonder if it's going to do it with an intact stem. Now it's time to try to kill the Tubolito. I'm going to make it the same time that I used to inflate the road tires, so that it's equivalent of 22 psi approximately based on my previous video. I'm aiming for roughly 50 seconds. Well, I think we know what happens there. One of the issues is when you melt this, the valve stem expands where the core was, and you can't actually pull it through the rim hole without the help of Mr. Hacksaw. In all the tests I've done, I averaged between 52 and 58 seconds without the hose and 62 to 66 seconds with the hose for inflation. So to answer the question, do I need a hose with TPU tubes? It depends. Certainly with the RideNow, even with the wimpiest 24 and with the newer 38s and or 36s, it appears that you do not need this hose. So you can go full weight weenie mode. With the Tubolitos, now to be fair, one of these was obviously hacked, but the other one, there's no chance. You're going to pull your valve core out of the valve stem. So with these, you have to use the hose. Another observation I've sort of made and discussed during the video is the fact that it takes slightly longer with the hose on to inflate the same tube, and also the box gets a fair bit hotter, which means that for WeightWeenies, you're probably going to need this silicone sleeve. So you're up about 40 grams. And we all know that's true because WeightWeenies statistically are more susceptible to heat on their hands than regular cyclists. So with that, I'll ask you again to like, subscribe, comments obviously down below, and please, ride hard.